We're meeting at a very high level. We have an agreement with the people that we're meeting with that we're not disclosing the identities of the people that we're meeting with.
I don't police the responses of my MLAs. They can sign whatever petition that they want.
Alberta is a natural partner for the U.S. They have great resources. The Albertans are very independent people. Rumors that they may have a referendum on whether they want to stay in Canada or not.
These perilous times, both parties, whatever their other differences, come together against external forces that threaten our independence and against domestic policies that threaten our unity.
Well, that was a snapshot of the state of separatist sentiment in Alberta and really across this continent from the last few weeks. The province could be headed to a referendum vote if a petition on secession is successful. It was launched by a separatist group known as Alberta Prosperity Project. Now, members of the group have met with officials of the Trump administration, and one of its leaders has even claimed that petition was signed by members of Alberta Premier Daniel Smith's own caucus. Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation is suing the provincial government and Alberta's chief electoral officer, as well as Canada, over all of this. Now, Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation Chief Sheldon Sunshine and Treaty 8 Grand Chief Trevor Mercredi were in Ottawa today for high-level meetings, and they joined me in studio right after those meetings. Here's our conversation. Thank you for being here in studio, and welcome to Power Play.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to first ask, the lawsuit names the Attorney General of Canada, the Chief Electoral Officer of Alberta, and the province. It claims that those parties have breached their legal treaty obligations. I understand that Alberta secession cannot happen without the consent of First Nations communities, but some might wonder why they can't just ask the question.
It was proven in Justice Feasy's decision on Bill 54, that we intervened, that the question is unconstitutional. And that's the reason we filed the claim and named all three parties. You know, we want the government of Canada to have their position on where they stand in all of this.
And what have they responded to so far, Chief Mercredi?
Well, the problem right now is that, you know, you had asked earlier about the question. Why can't the question be asked?
Proposed, yeah.
The big problem with the question is that when we have the Premier moving goalpost, changing, having legislation to change the laws, electoral laws, and actually circumventing the courts, we have a problem with that because of the fact that you know, there's not really a clear process. And when we talk about the referendum, the question, the referendum, the question are not clear. Mm-hmm. You know, we do have interference from you know, outside parties and outside of the country that we're really worried about in Alberta. So you know, we're very concerned that even if the referendum question is asked and there is a vote, that there's a possibility that that vote might not be taken seriously, and you know, some goalposts and some laws might be changed to rectify that as well. So it's just a never-ending movement that is really putting us in a bad position there in Alberta when it comes to our treaty and how it's implemented at this point in time.
Chief Sunshine's picking up on that issue of foreign interference. I know that you've said in this claim that the process through the passage of Bill 14 would enable foreign interference in the U.S. Why do you believe that?
We've seen what's happening in Venezuela and Greenland, the threats coming from south of the border, and you know, we've seen the conversation around annexing Canada, become 51st state, and we take those very seriously. And when it comes to foreign interference, we've seen numerous social media posts and all those things, and some of that stuff is coming from the United States. When they have a national security strategy coming from the United States, where it is going to engage with, I guess, partners outside in other countries, that's what we're seeing today. Mm-hmm. We're seeing reports of the separatist leaders meeting with the U.S. officials, and they won't name who that is, and that's direct foreign interference. So it's not hard to put together. We see the amount of funding that these people have and utilizing, engaging in various town halls and all those, renting big spaces and all those things. And yet when Thomas Lukaszuk did his petition, they've had people sitting in their vehicles, in trucks, and doing it with minimal cost because they didn't have access to that cost. So when we see the other side of it and the amount of money that's being put into this, we definitely see that there is that opportunity for foreign interference.
In this suit, Chief Mercredi, you also underline that the Clarity Act unjustifiably violates Section 35(1) of the Constitution Act, reducing Indigenous people to essentially an afterthought in the process. Some others may look at the Clarity Act as more of a backstop, especially in this situation. Why do you not believe that that's the case?
Well, we don't trust the process right now. And the process there is being manipulated by the Premier. And when we talk about Section 35 rights and the rights of our people that are enshrined in the Constitution, we have to remember that there's a lot of history that is not taken into account when we speak about our treaties and how the provinces came to be. So when we see this talk about separation and about moving away from Canada, we have a problem with that. And it's not that we're here to essentially protect Alberta or the province of Alberta, because we have serious grievances with the province as well too. But we have to understand that it is fundamental to Canada to keep the provinces together and to make sure that we can improve the relationships that are going on between the federal, provincial, and our treaty nations. However, this is not the way. So we have a real issue with it, and legally speaking, to move in that direction without bringing the treaty partners into the question really leaves us to wonder as to how they figure they can move ahead with this type of a referendum when treaties are a huge part of Alberta's history in becoming a province, and people have to understand that.
And Chief Sunshine, you had mentioned in this suit as well, but in other interviews, that alleging that the Canadian government abdicated its treaty obligations by not stopping this referendum from going forward. You did have meetings with Indigenous Services Minister Mandy Galmasti. How did those go, and do you think that there was any progress after that meeting? After
having conversation with the minister, we learned that there is a plan from the Prime Minister's office. We're not privy to what that is yet, but and that was primarily part of the reason that we came, among a lot of other things.
A plan in terms of dealing with the separation, with a possible referendum, or with the fallout from it? I believe
they're evaluating the whole situation that's happening, and I think we really emphasize that. While they might not be, if they're not taking this seriously, that they have to. We've seen, like I said, with Venezuela and Greenland, and the rhetoric that's coming from south of the border, and if there is even a vote, for that matter, we anticipate that there will be a vote, potentially, but in order for our nation and other nations that stepped up to provide this litigation, it should be Canada taking that step, and yet here we are putting it forward because we see a lot of harm coming to our people, a lot of like Chief said, oversight from the provincial government and federal government with recent legislations.
But following that meeting, do you feel like they're taking it seriously, the government of Canada?
I believe they're taking steps to evaluate the situation. When the Minister Galmasti tells me that, I think she's sincere that they are taking steps to address it. But for us, seeing what's happening globally, it is very concerning.
Just before I let you go, Chief Sunshine, when we reached out to the Alberta government about this suit, they said they wouldn't be commenting on any specific, anything specific on the lawsuit, but they did say in a statement, Alberta's government recognizes and honors treaty rights as recognized by Section 35 of the Constitution Act of 1982. What do you feel about that response and their response in general to what you've been putting forward?
When I hear that, it's I get the feeling that it's not sincere, just based on dealings with the Premier and their government. You know, like Chief Mercredi said, that when it comes to legislations that infringe on our rights, we've seen numerous legislations coming out of the province of Alberta in the last 2 years, and the impacts that are going to have on First Nations and our treaty rights are very significant. When the Bill C-5, One Canada Economy Act, came through, it was the same thing. It was rolled right through with having First Nations as an afterthought, you know, and that's what I hope that that comes out of this. We have the greatest opportunity in order to correct a lot of the wrongs and a lot of the way things were done in the past. When they do these things, create these legislations that impact our way of life, then there's a problem. Then we get on our heels and we react. And I think the time for reaction with what's happening south of the border when it comes to growing the economy, building better systems, our messaging is, let's sit down and let's go through those. We have solutions. You know, we talk about resource revenue sharing. You know, we were the original inhabitants of this land. We allowed colonization. We allowed Canada to become what it is. We allowed the provinces to become what it is. And it's time that we step back and re-engage in those. And let's fix that treaty relationship so that we are part of the solution and we can help guide Canada's economy in a good way.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Sturgeon Lake Chief Sheldon Sunshine and Treaty 8 Grand Chief Trevor Mercredi, thank you both for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.